Okay.
So. All right. Well, welcome to Back from the Brink Games. Josh and Scott here again to talk about more video games. And today we're going to be focusing on Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah.
Because Josh thought it'd be a good idea if we played this game and reviewed it.
Yeah.
And I was, I'd say, more than hesitant about getting started with this game.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't watched or read a lot of reviews on it, but I have certainly heard some negative rumblings regarding the game. But I'm glad that we did this. I have been anxiously waiting to talk to you about it. We haven't talked about it at all, so I am interested to know what you think. Just to get started, just to give an idea of what this game is. This is a game developed by, or produced by Ubisoft, developed by Massive, who did The Division.
Yeah.
It is a Star Wars game. It takes place in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It follows Kay Vess is the main character, and she is an outlaw.
Okay.
I think. She's also got a dog cat creature called Nyx.
Yep.
Who they try to make super cute, and
Actually, they try to make it a thief because it steals all kinds of things.
It steals a lot of stuff. It's this game's BD1.
It is.
And BD1 is from the Jedi series. So, first, just want to get your thoughts a little bit on the game. How much did you play of it?
Yep.
What are your impressions?
I probably 3 or 4 hours in, which sounds like it's enough to get a good impression of a game, but I really don't think I did on this one, on 3 or 4 hours. I think it's extremely... I would say the intro pieces are very like set piece polished, and I like some of that. But it also, when you're like, okay, I want to dive right into the gameplay, it does not really necessarily let you. It kind of holds you up a little bit, which, you know, it's not all good or bad. I mean, it's like, it's taking you on like a narrative kind of like beat to get through the beginning. You know, I think it's a good 45 minutes or an hour until you hit a title screen, which...
It's Ubisoft kind of classic. You know, you play for a while and then you hit with title screen.
With me last week was just one of those weeks where I sat down one night to be like, I'm going to get a chunk of this game done, and I got to the title screen and went, it's time to go to bed, right?
Yeah. That was my first night playing too. I got to the title screen and I said, I think that's going to be it for me.
Yeah.
So what are your...
And then, sorry, I was going to say, like, some of it, I can say, honestly, they made it work better than I thought with some of the controls, like the jumping from thing to thing, the parkour-ish kind of stuff, the climbing, that kind of stuff felt better than I thought it would based on how the kind of controls were at the beginning. The shooting, I think, felt kind of awkward to me. And it maybe, I don't remember what difficulty I put it on, but it felt kind of paint by numbers too at times. Like, you know, the classic, like, oh, well, there's white paint on the walls, you can climb. Well, this has like yellow highlight on everything this is where you go. And like a lot of even the sneaking and stealth stuff was like, you just hold up for 2 seconds and they walk by and they'll never turn around. You know what I mean? Like it was not real hard to figure out some of that stuff. That being said, that could just be that it's like a 4-hour tutorial. And I didn't get to the meat of the hard part yet because I will say, where I left off, I infiltrated a base all sneaky, and it was like a long sneaking session. Yeah. Like, it felt like I was sneaking for an hour and a half, and no one had caught me. And then, like, at the end of this really long sneaking part, I was like, I was actually starting to, like, in my head, I was like, this works really well. Like, I'm sneaking the whole way. It's believable that they don't see me. Like, my little dog buddy is stealing their grenades and everything from them, and, like, we're progressing through very quietly. And then I got to a spot where, like, I like downed some people. I got behind him and like knocked him out, and then took down a shield, and I was supposed to get to that shield. Like, I couldn't immediately find a way, and like in my search for it, some dude spotted me, and then I had 20 dude firefight going, and I ended up dying, and then I was like, well, that's it for tonight. It was a couple nights ago. I haven't picked it back up. I plan on picking it back up because I was starting to have fun, if that makes sense. Like, I was starting to relax and go like, when is this going to get going and actually have fun? But it was felt like the beginning chunk was really long.
Yeah, and I agree with that. The start of this game, not super strong. They kind of just drop you in the first location. Gosh, what's it called?
It's from the casino planet from that one.
Yeah, something bite.
Kanto Bite.
Kanto Bite. Yeah,
it's a beautiful game.
It is.
I mean, it looks really good.
And this is the second planet you get to, but in Kanto, I don't think I have any pictures from Kanto Bite. So Kanto Bite, you're on there, and this is where
I managed to get stuff between.
K-Vest is from. And it just drops you there with no real direction. I got lost when I first started. I didn't know where to go.
That intro section, that's the only time that it didn't feel very like go the way that we want you to. They like drop you in at the beginning and they're like gain some money. And
you don't really have a map.
No.
You don't really
Not at first you don't.
You don't really know where to go. And I was a little frustrated. And it's not a very like intuitive place. There's a lot of back alleys and stuff to get lost in.
Yeah.
And not in a good way. And so I agree.
They might be good later. Like they might be good when you're like, if there was an open world section, it'd be cool. I never went back. It didn't feel very open world to me at that point.
No, that all comes later. But the opening I agree is not great, but the vibes are there. So. Yeah, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more because there's my thoughts on this. So I finished the game.
Yeah.
It took me about 19 hours. I went through a real roller coaster with this game.
Okay.
Like, unlike any other game I've played in the experience of my enjoyment with it. And there were points that I was not having fun, and then there were points that I
was. A good time. Yeah.
So, and the one thing that really kept drawing me back was the setting. Of Star Wars, which we've talked about Star Wars fatigue.
Yep.
And the crazy thing about this is this has like reignited some of my Star Wars love.
Ooh.
Like surprisingly, I thought that this was going to drag it down further, but it didn't. I'm kind of pumped about it actually. So, what are your thoughts on? I don't know if you played enough to get a feeling of K-Vest, the main character.
I did, I think.
And what are do you have any opinions on it?
Classic Star Wars character. This is Han Solo as a lady. This is a scoundrel that will kind of cheat and steal, but has a heart of gold underneath. I mean, that's it, right? I mean, classic Star Wars hero.
Yeah. So I agree with you, and the one thing so she's supposed to come up in Kanto Bite as a scoundrel rebel, like brought up to be this thief her whole life. But she has a heart of gold. She's not, she's good, she'll steal and murder all over the place, but she's like supposedly this great person. But the other thing is, in the beginning of the game, actually pretty much throughout the game, in a lot of her conversations, almost all of them, she expresses a lot of doubt all of the time.
Yeah.
And fake confidence. And I have a video that I put up, and it's a conversation. This was like multiple conversations in, so I recorded the video because it's like, okay, this is an example of her just talking about something, and she's always like, oh yeah, I totally know what that is. Like, when you're sarcastic and you want the person to know you don't know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like making a joke like, oh yeah, I've totally heard of schmagus magus.
Right.
You know? It's all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, who's going to trust her?
Yeah.
Because she has no confidence.
So for a con person,
Yeah,
for a con woman, she's not very confident. Is that what you're saying?
And but it's like she's purposefully trying, and I don't blame. I'm sure that the actress that she was given direction to record the lines
Mm-hmm.
in that manner, you know.
Yeah.
And I have one of the videos on there. It's under that confidence one. If you pull back and look, but it's
Let me find it.
it's really frustrating after a while. I just got to a point I was like, you might need volume on it though.
Well, that'll be a whole project. Let me do it though.
So it just gets really tiresome.
Oh,
Let's do some volume. Let's start it over.
where's your speeder? Where's your speeder? I'll just juice the repulsor here, and you're all set. That is strong enough to ride double now.
Huh. Really?
I meant your little pet there.
Yeah, me too. That's what I meant.
So that's as is like an example of like every time that something happens, like it's like, oh, you need to plant this bomb. Have you ever dealt with a BX3 bomb? And she's like, oh yeah, BX3, yeah, all the time. And it's like,
Okay. I see what you're saying.
like okay, like at least it really got to a point that it was so grating. And I know what I was sitting there hoping, I was like, boy, I really hope that they're just showing how inexperienced and naive she is, so that later when she gains confidence, you can see that character growth. But she's been living in this world as a like scoundrel her whole life. She should already have some confidence, right? So you're playing this character who has no confidence. They're fake confident about everything, and it just really got on my nerves. Later on, it does get a little bit better, but really only in like the last missions does she start to say things confidently, and even then, she has things in there that she says. You're just like, why are you? It's really
Her kind of lack of it, like it sounds like the direction was, you don't really know what you're doing. You're kind of fish out of water, doing a new thing, but she really shouldn't be. She's raised to do this.
Yeah.
She should know a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just got really grating. Like, so my experience with the game was one of, the beginning of it, not too great. And then I started right around where you were left off. I started being like, okay, like, I'm kind of digging this. Like, this could get really good. Starting to do some stealth stuff.
Like
really,
I felt the hook starting.
Yeah.
I felt like it was about to get pretty good. I could probably continue.
And
with that.
it did, and then it quickly didn't.
Okay.
Again.
Yeah.
And I was yelling at the screen like, yes, this is a bad game. This is a bad game. Like, there is nothing good about this game, but I kept playing it.
Okay.
And then my mind changed again,
Okay.
which doesn't usually happen multiple times in a game. I started to realize that I had to accept the game for what it was and not what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
It has a lot of flaws. The gameplay falls flat on every area.
Yeah.
And so, like, stealth, in my opinion, not good.
Yeah.
I have a video on stealth AI where you can watch how you sneak through these places. It's not realistic, in my opinion. So going through here, I'm just like, I have no idea where I am in this base. I start to
Yeah.
go out this door. Okay,
Yep.
I'm not going to go that way. So I And a lot of times this happens in these bases that you can kind of infiltrate anyway, which is cool. And then here's this guy, and I just blast him, and I turn, and there's just a dude just looking at me, staring at a wall.
Yeah.
And it's so often that most of the time you open a door and everybody is faced the wrong direction. Like they are not trying to guard anything.
No.
They're just facing away from you, and you just walk in.
Kind of what I meant about the whole on rails sneaking thing, where it's like they're making it a little easy for you at times.
It happens throughout the game where they're just, you walk in, there's nobody guarding anything, they all have their backs to you, just walk up, you knock them in the head, the person right next to them can't hear you. So is the stealth good? In my opinion, no. There's barely any stealth. There's just a crouch walk, which gets you around.
There's also takedowns.
There's takedowns.
There's crouch walking and takedowns.
Yeah. And you use your little creature, Nix, to distract people. So I felt like the learning curve in this game, that it's odd. Because I played a lot of games, but I feel like I was playing the game wrong for a long time, and I don't think that's necessarily my fault. I don't know if the game did a great job of teaching me what I was really supposed to do and how to do it. Like, I was trying to pay attention to tutorials that was coming through, but I guess I was missing stuff because I felt like signposting wasn't great. Yeah, there's yellow stuff painted all over the place. I was still getting lost in places. I didn't know what they really wanted me to do. Sometimes in stealth, they pushed me into a corridor where they're like, yeah, this is obviously the only way through this room. And other times I'd sit there and I just look and I'd be like, I don't even know. And then later in the game, well, actually throughout the game, every time you get into stealth, it almost always falls apart. Yeah. There was a couple of times, and even when you do everything perfectly, almost every time that you're exfiltrating, you immediately get alarmed that you can't help.
Yeah.
And so you have to fight your way out. It's almost every base.
Yeah.
There's only one time that you like sneak out and don't.
Like the first base, I feel like there was like, I'm escaping, didn't alert anybody. And like one of the places you pop out into is like this big hangar full of people, and like they immediately look at you and it's like you're done.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like immediately after you get whatever you're supposed to do, whatever computer, it immediately alarms on you. And it is just like, well, if this can happen anyways, like what's the point?
Why don't I just like clear these people out first?
Yeah.
And then, and I mean, I did like that they instituted the little, the stun rings on your blaster, the blue stun rings. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Just from the movie. Yeah, I've seen that before. Like,
so, yeah, gameplay wise, the stealth not great. The shooting not great.
Yeah.
The traversing the world I didn't feel was that great or rewarding.
It feels like a mediocre platformer with a mediocre open world game, with a mediocre stealth action game, with a mediocre space flight game, with a mediocre, all jammed together. There's the mediocre bits of a bunch of other games pushed together.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty accurate. But the thing that it does have is Star Wars.
It's got the Star Wars on it.
And usually I'd be like, well, okay, so what? Yeah. But this game, like, anytime you have to say, just get like 10 hours into the game and then it gets good, is not a way to sell a game, and it should
especially not for me.
Not a reason to play a game either. But about 8 to 10 hours in, I totally turned my thoughts on the game. I was like, yeah, these parts of the game aren't great, but I started having a lot of fun with it.
Okay.
And mostly because I was kind of learning how to have fun with it. I was learning the processes, and then I was like, I don't care if I'm going to mow down like 40 people in Jabba's palace, which is basically how I got in. It's just going down. I was just picking up weapons and just.
I have to be careful because I want to stick the landing with this. So we're Hitman 3 in it through this one. Then is what you're saying. Because I'm pretty sure Hitman 2 is not possible to just mow down people. It's Hitman 3 where like all of a sudden it was like, oh, you can just shoot everybody. It's fine. Yeah. Every other Hitman game ever really punishes you for not being stealthy. But I kind of like a game that's supposed to be stealth. But if you mess up, you can just
Yeah,
still win.
I think this game would have been so much better if they had really developed the stealth mechanics and they leaned into it way harder.
Yeah,
I would have really enjoyed like a full-on scoundrel stealth, shoot a little bit, action type game with way less blaster fights. I think that they really could have had something special there.
I think you're highlighting what I don't like in the bit that I've played. Is that I've been trying to play it like a hardcore stealth action game, and it's just not that great as that type of game. In fact, I'm sitting here going like, I don't want to play it if I have to sneak around like this the whole time.
Yeah, and that's a big problem, and that's where I really started to lose my enjoyment with it. Is because I was trying to make it this thing that it's not, and play it in a way that isn't really conducive to fun. It's not.
Yeah.
It's. But this game makes me want to go play Metal Gear Solid 5 because it kind of scratches that itch a little bit. And every time I wasn't playing this game, not all the time, but whenever I thought about this game and I wasn't playing it, I was thinking, I want to play it.
Yeah.
It has something to it that I was enjoying.
Okay.
And it's one of those things, like in older games like 360 era or Xbox games or old like PC games where you would play them and gameplay was more rudimentary, the graphics aren't that great, but you would go and you would create like all this stuff in your head about the game, and you would use more imagination when you're playing the game, and so that
I have a garage full of old DOS PCs because I'm so nostalgic about Dark Forces and TIE Fighter and X-Wing and Warcraft 2 and all of the DOS, the late DOS era video games is like, I'm obsessed with it. It's my favorite era of video games. And you go back and you look at it and you're like, all of it was in your little kid brain.
Yeah.
Every bit of it was in my little kid brain. It was not actually represented on the screen.
Yeah. Because we played the game.
Yeah.
And then we used our imagination to cover all the rough bits. And in this game, it's a high fidelity, beautiful game.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. I took a bunch of screenshots because it was so pretty, and it runs really, really great. So you're not using your imagination to fill in those gaps, but you have to start to kind of like role play a little bit and pretend in your head that things are happening in the game that aren't. And it's which is silly, but I started thinking about it. I was like, man, like you want to engross yourself in the world, which is why I say it's like kind of reignited some passion for Star Wars, because you're on the streets, the neon, the grit, and you're in these places, and it's all set dressing and whatever, but when you like just go through and the Cantina song, not the Cantina song, is playing.
Okay, I was going to say.
And I didn't hear it. I'm sure it's in there somewhere, but. Yeah. And you're walking through and people are talking and you overhear some conversation about something that's going to be a job, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that kind of kept me going. And then once I learned to play the game differently, I started to enjoy it more. So I went through this like not liking it so much, starting to like it, really, really not liking it. Like, really not liking it.
Yeah.
And then I went back and I had one night that I played it, and everything just, like, changed, where I was like, oh, I really enjoyed playing that. And then after that, I mean, I enjoyed it until the end. And the story, I thought, was good. I enjoyed it. Kay Vess as a character, she got better. But she still had the same problems throughout until like the very end, where she gains her confidence, which that's good and all, but the other characters in the game were good. There was some twists and turns there that were really interesting to me. I have another video about breaking this rock, which about drove me insane because it's an open world game. You unlock things at certain times. Well, this rock, like,
unbreakable by a blaster, I guess.
Well, this is the first time in the game that I've come to a puzzle where you had to break a rock. Now, people who played this game, if they watch this, would look at this and be like,
okay,
Yeah. They talk to you about how to do that, but they don't, because when I upgraded my blaster to this thing, it was right before this mission. You know how you get an upgrade, and in a game it will immediately show you how to use that upgrade.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that. So it teaches you somewhere in the open world, and it's possible that this character, there's a character here that you're trying to get through to join your team. And she's talking to you the whole time. I just went through shooting a whole bunch of people in this level. Action the whole time. She's talking to you the whole time. It's very hard to understand because she speaks in Huttese.
Okay.
And so it's all, you have to read it all.
Chaba.
While you're fighting.
Sure.
Which you can't
Sure.
do. And so even when
you can't do. I might be able to.
I can't do.
I don't know.
I can't do.
Okay.
So I'm sorry I put that on you. So I'm sitting there. So she might have said, blow up that rock, but I would never know because I couldn't read what she was saying. And she's a really interesting character. She's like this little old lady, alien, crazy bomb making lady.
Okay.
And I would have liked to hear what she said, but I couldn't. And so I ran around that place for 5-10 minutes trying to figure out what to do. And again, I don't feel like I'm that bad at figuring that stuff out. But there's all this stuff that the game, to me, doesn't tell you well enough for you to, at least maybe I'm just old, to remember to do it. Like the scan, you have a scan through your pet that you can scan the environment.
Yep.
And I'd forget to do it all the time.
Yeah.
When I got stuck. And then this side, I
feel like at the very beginning, you can turn on the look and see what your pet can do mode.
Yeah.
Right. There's two different pet things. You've got scan around you for what your pet can see, and then highlight the things that my pet could go steal or could do or whatever. I forget to do that. I just would walk around and be like, oh, I probably should have looked for anything I should have done over there.
I guess it's not a game problem so much as a me problem, but it was one of those things that those things kind of stacked up. I was like, I don't understand what you want me to do. Mm-hmm. And then I remember, there's this one thing that I never have to use that I'm going to have to use. And then when you tell Nix to do something, you can hold the LB and then point at something, and then you can pick what you want him to do.
Yeah.
Or look at a switch or something. And I don't know if I just rushed through a tutorial. I don't think I did, but I got to points at hours into the game, and I was like, I never knew to do that.
Yeah.
I think I was 8 hours into the game, and I was about to infiltrate a Imperial base.
Okay.
And I'm sitting on the ledge, and I'm like, I've never used my binoculars before.
Oh, when they said you have binoculars now or whatever at the very beginning.
Did you use them?
I looked at a wall for a second.
Yeah.
Went, okay, binoculars. I haven't used them since.
You can mark people with your binoculars, which I didn't know. So I went through and I marked everyone in that I could. I was like, that would have been helpful in the last 8 hours. But those are the sort of things that kind of added up. And like you said, there's just so many different systems, and none of them are I don't know. I marked people twice though, in the 20 hours that I played the game, because you can't do it in a base because
you can't see everybody.
Yeah, and so there's not a lot of times to do it. So it's just a feature that they put in there, and it works, but I don't really understand why.
Yeah. It's because it's another piece of another game they jammed in.
Yeah. So I will say, let me talk. I could talk a lot about all the bad stuff, because there's a lot of bad stuff in the game that I didn't like gameplay wise. The ship, the space, fighting was, and I have a video too of the first space fight you're doing. You basically just hold the left trigger and then it locks on. And then you hold the right trigger. And so right here, I'm not hitting the joystick. I'm just holding left trigger and holding right trigger.
Okay.
And it just follows them.
I hit the joystick on when you're escaping the first planet and you're going away to hyperspace or whatever. I started hitting the joystick and I don't think it was doing anything. I think
It's
you're
a
on
loading-
like
it's a loading screen.
It's a loading screen. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
it's not doing anything.
So, yeah, right now I wasn't even really.
okay,
It auto tracks everything. So I was like, wow, this is not great. It gets better.
LucasArts, if you could give me a space like fighter video game that's not on rails. Like Squadrons is the most disappointing game of my entire life. So, legitimately, EA, stop putting Starfighter games on rails. The original X-Wing and TIE Fighter games for DOS, just make those with good graphics, bro.
I think that's a great idea.
Hopefully they're watching.
They have to be.
And they're not. It's okay.
So that was disappointing. I got into space after that, and I was like, why would I want to fly around? You can go, and there's like an open world space area, which would be cool, but I didn't really even want to fly around and look at those things. There's missions that you can go out and do in space. Again, wasn't really interested in doing that.
Just make galaxies, but
Yeah,
modern.
the speeder bike on the ground, it's like all over the place. You get some upgrades later that make it a little bit better, but it is hard to control.
I was that first bit where you get attacked on your way to the city or whatever. I was like, okay, so my only options are I have two things I can do. I can dodge left and right, and I can like go into bullet time and aim at them. Those are my two moves. That's it. And if I go to bullet time, everyone I touch dies. It's weird. The bullet time thing was another game mechanic that was they just did Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah,
They were like, what if we put Red Dead Redemption in it too? Like, they're jamming too many games into one game, and then they're trying to make every base escape the part from Star Wars: A New Hope, where like Han Solo gets caught and run out, and blast his way out. It's like.
That was every single time that you escaped a base, and if you had to jump on something, every time.
Yeah.
You're running and blaster fires over your head, and it's just like you don't.
So you should just start the whole mission by shooting people.
You might as well. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter,
Yeah.
but unless you want to just role play as the sneaky. And there were times I snuck all the way through, and it was rewarding. But for the most part, it was just like it was.
There's a couple of missions where I snuck, got caught, blasted everybody, and then it got way easier after that because the camera, you're supposed to do a puzzle to turn the camera off. I can rocket right through the camera because no one is coming.
Every time
No one's
there were like rooms, and then there would be the camera off terminal you had to slice, and I'd go in, and then here's the camera out here in the hallway. I go into the room, I slice, and then there's another door here, and I go through, and it goes past the camera. So I was like, why? What's the point?
Yeah.
I'm turning off the camera. I just walk through the door. It doesn't make any sense.
Let's talk about the slicing too. I feel like
I think I have a video of the slice. No, I didn't put it in there because all it is guessing. It is literally guessing.
it's not guessing.
It is
It's
guessing.
match the pattern. You can sit there and let it play through and go doot 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 doot.
Oh no,
doot.
no, that.
Is
No,
that
that's
that's
not-
the
that-
slicing, right? Oh, you're talking about
I'm talking the
there's
computer.
there's the where you match the boxes
Yeah,
or whatever.
the unlocking the
and it
slicing
offers
isn't-
you numbers. I was like, so match the numbers. That would be pretty easy.
The slicing, where you're unlocking like a door.
There's like hacking and slicing. I don't know what the difference is with this, but there's
Yeah,
the
I'm
one
not
where
sure.
you
They're
unlock.
they're probably both
The
slicing.
door unlock is just like, and it's frustrating because I'm like, I know I hit that exact time with you, and you're telling me it's off. But yeah, the little match game thing, I got it right the first time, and I was like, did I do that on purpose?
No,
did
it
I
just
did I
does
do that?
It makes it really easy the very first time, and then afterwards,
Yeah.
it can get so ridiculous. Where I literally went to the last one on every one because you just have to guess, and it's like, well, you can rearrange the thing, but it doesn't matter. It's still guessing, and
So turning on the numbers mode is probably
until you get to you upgrade your hacking, and then it gets way easier. But
maybe that's realism, bro.
it is real.
Until you're good at hacking,
Well-
you're just guessing.
Well, it's really frustrating when
just
you
throwing
guess
stuff in ChatGPT and seeing what it spits out, and like you don't know.
Well, it will alarm on you after you get it wrong.
Okay.
You're like, okay, that wasn't fun at all. Thank you.
Yeah.
But the pattern too is fine until you have someone who's walking up and you're trying to sneak by and someone's walking and it's timed and you have to listen to this beep, 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 beep. And you're like, okay. And you hit it and you miss it once.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I just got caught.
Yeah.
And get good.
Sounds like the moral of the story is just learn to shoot everyone before you have to do anything in that game.
So I was going into Jabba's palace. I was supposed to sneak in, and there's this part where I got caught early, and I was like, screw it. I picked up like a grenade launcher, and I just cleared out a whole bunch of people and then walked in, and then, excuse me, as soon as you walk in, you're stealth again, so it's fine. And then, and then a whole lot of exactly what you think would happen when you go into Jabba's palace, that's pretty much what happens.
Yeah.
So, but again, when I think about all this stuff, like all of these negatives, I'd be like, man, I don't like this. I'm not having fun. And then I started to have fun again, and that was the weirdest part of it. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, why do I like this game now? I shouldn't.
Well,
but I finished the game, and I can say I like Star Wars Outlaws. I had fun. And I like the game, despite it being not a great game. It's fine.
you can like a bad game.
That's
You
the whole
like a
point.
bad game, yeah.
This is maybe a 7.
Okay.
Gameplay wise, it's
Less than 7.
maybe a 7. Story wise, I think it's good.
Okay.
I think that there is so much gained by the Star Wars universe on this property, and I think that there's a lot of like love there and a lot of you get some of the stuff in this game that you would cameo stuff that you would kind of expect, not that much but some, and when it happens, I mean it's kind of cool, but stuff happens where like I mean
Is it Kyle Katarn and the Moldy Crow? That's all I want.
That would be so awesome.
Should I run these game studios that make Star Wars games?
I would.
Because I feel like I could win the day.
Yes. I thought Dark Forces like this, a remake of Dark Forces like this would be freaking awesome with like really, really stealth parts. Like not blasting through a whole Imperial base, like real stealth would be so good. This game, if you love Star Wars and you want to really feel like you are in like Star Wars, I think this is a good game to do that.
Yeah.
When you walk into a canteen, you probably notice like the camera closes in on Kay's back and things go slower, and it's kind of like, oh, that's annoying, I can't get around fast. But what it really does is it's very immersive in that way, because now you're like really more in that location, like and it's a vibe. Like
from the very first spot in the game that you're at, the very first scene of the game, I remember having my like, I want to get into the stealthy, shooty gameplay, get me through this. But I remember going like, oh, they're trying to put me in an atmosphere. They're trying to put me in like a vibe. They were trying to put me in Star Wars Cantina vibe.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was not having it at the time, but I see how that could be. If you surrender your 20 hours to it, I could see how it could be. It could be fun if you give yourself the opportunity to be there rather than I'm trying to get to it.
Yeah, and that's like, I was so busy trying to get out of the towns, out of the cantinas, to go to the open world and like get stuff done, that I wasn't just sitting there like walking around, just kind of getting the experience of being in a Star Wars location.
Yeah.
And I think that's where this game really shines. And the cantinas are awesome. When you're in the crowds and stuff, I think it feels good. I like it for that, and I will say like this has reignited some of my love for Star Wars, and by that I mean I'm not like, I gotta go watch the whole, I gotta go watch the original trilogy, and I gotta watch, but I'm like, well, man, I never finished Andor. I'd really like to go finish Andor now.
Andor's really good.
I know, but I stopped because I just can't. But now I'm like, okay, I'm like back in that world
back.
where I would like to see. I'm kind of back.
All right.
And
Cool.
I was like, man, I kind of want to go watch Empire. I kind of want to go watch Jedi. Like, I want to reignite that. And this is just showing that this is a loading screen.
Yeah,
it's not really like.
But I mean, it's fine.
But you
again,
can skip
it's
this.
it's all vibe.
Yeah, and it is, and the vibes are there, and it's beautiful. And I say, if you like Star Wars, you like open world games, give it a try. Give it the ability. I don't want to say play 10 hours of it, but give it the ability to grow on you and play it for what it is. So that was the same problem I had with Starfield. Is I was playing this game that I wanted it to be, and not the game that it is.
Yeah.
And once I learned, like, I need to play the game it is.
Why can't they just get us the game we want, Scott?
No, they're just not as good at doing that as
Not as good as thinking at me than me.
So, if like you being not very far in,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can be like, hey man,
Tough it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
I'll probably, if I'm bored, I'll probably get some more in.
but the other thing is, I don't know if I went in with a different attitude and a different like view on how to play it, if I would have enjoyed that time. But I mean, some people really, really don't like this game. Like, really don't like this game.
Some people really don't like anything Star Wars right now.
That's true too.
Like putting the fact that LucasArts, I call it LucasArts,
Lucasfilm Games?
Disney, the fact that Disney agreed to make another franchise with female protagonists means they're just going to anger a lot of incels. They know that. That's okay. It's just like, no matter what, they could remake the greatest game of all time, and there is a certain group of people who have podcasts that would hate it. You know, they would just hate it for that reason. Just because.
They're gonna hate this game.
Sure, that's
but
great.
there are people that are, you know, they aren't Star Wars haters. They aren't like or new Star Wars haters, and they just don't like the game, and that's fine.
I'll put it another way, though. I think most people, Star Wars fan or not, aren't probably willing to give it 10 hours of frustration.
No, there's no way.
So people who end up liking it.
I don't know if we weren't going to have this conversation and review the game, that I would have continued with it.
Yeah.
You know, there was sometimes I felt like I was going to work to like, I'm going to get through this, and then I don't know, it just turned. But there are parts in this game, and I don't know if we were going to hit on it or not, but it is heavily. There's a lot of female.
Oh, I do not want to go down the rabbit hole of incels, but
no, it's not. It's not something that, you know, it doesn't bother me. It was just a little heavy-handed at times, where it seemed like it wasn't. It seemed purposefully placed, and in that
you're sending a message to the incels with this.
I don't know. But I'll tell you that I when I was playing it, I was like, it was noticeable to me, and that stuff I don't like key in or trigger on that stuff. I just am like, yeah. So, but you know, there was some stuff in there that I'm just like, I don't really know why this was the choice that they made. It almost seems like, oh, you don't like that, huh? Kind of thing. So
we like it. Just for
I don't have a problem with it.
We're being really vague right now. We should just move on.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. So, all right. I think we've talked about Outlaws enough. The point is, if you like Star Wars, play the game. If you like open world Ubisoft game, I think it's worth playing. It is not a perfect game. It is far from it, but it might actually still be in the top 10 of my favorite games I play this year. And just because I don't know, like you said, you can like a bad game.
You can absolutely.
You can like a bad game, and yeah, the gameplay was not great, but in the end,
Nacho
I liked
Libre.
it. And there were parts of the game.
I'm sorry. I had to do a callback.
Callback to just me.
Callback to just me. It's not a good movie,
You
but
know,
I liked it. Okay.
What's funny is it's always just a callback to just me.
Yeah.
When on the podcast. So there are parts of this game. I think I have a picture of it somewhere. I might not. It doesn't matter. Where you like crest a hill to look down in this valley, and
You've definitely got this picture. Hang on.
well, I've got a crest. I have
You
a
got
lot
cresty
of
valley pictures.
There's a lot.
Look at all these crested valleys.
There's a lot of them. I have a lot of pictures of them. But these are all screenshots, so that's cool. But then I don't think I have it in this. But that was bad. That was some bad platforming right here.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the bad platforming where it's just like I could do it. I felt this way about the Jedi game, the Jedi series too, with Jedi Survivor and all this. There's a lot of parts where I was like, I could do with less climbing on grates and jumping between gaps. Like, it doesn't do it for. I understand.
But this one, you just had to like stand there, and you just had to wait.
Okay.
And I'd already missed it once, so I had to stand there like multiple times while this.
Into the video.
Yeah, it's okay. It part comes out and the other part comes out. It's really not very fun. But you crest this valley. You're looking for this thing, and you go over, and there is a crashed A-wing in the valley, and it was just a moment that I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. You come over, and there's just this A-wing, and it's the first time you see an A-wing in the game. It's the first time you see an A-wing, and I mean, there's not a lot of properties where you walk around and see an A-wing, and I think the A-wing's always really super cool looking, and
for reference, it is the best ship to use in the LucasArts classic from 1993, X-wing. Anyway,
well, I don't know. I just had a moment where I walked over and I saw it, and I was like, that's cool. To me, that was really cool, and there was. The rebellion's in the game. Sure. But it, I won't talk much about it. It wasn't like Rogue One, where it's like, I just want to rebel. Even though I think that was only in the trailer. But
it was only in the trailer, but it's still, I know what you mean. So let's wrap up on this one. Let's wrap up on Outlaws.
Good.
I think
it's a game.
I like.
I think you should play it.
I'm going to.
I think you should play it.
I'm going to keep playing it.
But I don't. I think
can't
if
promise
you don't
I'll finish it.
If you don't have a metaphorical gun to your head to play it, you're probably not going to keep playing it.
Sure.
If you don't have, and there's enjoyment to have there, but not for everybody.
Yeah.
But some people really love this game too. So okay.
Some people.
All right. So if we want to talk about some news for the last week, we have some options. We could talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about
there was a Switch 2 leak where the pictures of the Switch 2 leaked online, and I have a link in there, but if you go there,
That's what I was trying to get to.
It's looks like the Switch. So
it looks just like a Switch.
it looks a lot like a Switch.
Well, that's not very.
2. It has a bigger screen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something, but I love my Switch. I still play it. I play it more now than I ever have with my son, and it is an awesome device. So I think
This part looks breakable. Children will break screens off, but anyway.
I think that's supposed to be it sliding in.
Okay.
I think. I don't know if this is actually this shot. Actually, it might be. It doesn't matter.
Well,
it's not the most interesting thing. It's just something that's not it either.
Well, I'm just reading about it right now.
Do you care about a Switch 2?
I'm not a Nintendo.
You have a Steam Deck.
I have a Steam Deck. I don't play the Steam Deck a lot because I'm not a very big mobile gamer.
Mm-hmm.
I play the Steam OS on my couch on a big TV, but with Bazite. But I don't travel enough anymore to make that real compelling for me. I have a Switch. I won it as a part of a company prize thing, and I gave it to my friend who has kids because I played it for a minute and went no. And I'm just also I lose a lot of cred when I talk about this, but I'm not the biggest Zelda guy Like, I appreciate it, but I haven't been like...
But you never really played Breath of the Wild.
No,
or
I played
Tears
Breath of the
Kingdom.
Wild for a little bit, but I didn't get very far into it. Again, it felt like a time commitment.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Breath of the Wild might have the same problem for you as Red Dead Redemption did. You have to put the time in.
If you can't put 2 solid hours together in that game, you can't you can't move forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Switch 2 is probably going to be good, but it still won't be. It's not going to have the power of that.
They're never going to do that. They're never going to go for like trying to beat any of the competitors with a more powerful console, which puts it honestly right in the mobile gaming sweet spot. Your Steam Deck isn't challenging an Xbox Series X or a PS5 for power. You know what I mean? Like, it's got a 780p display basically, and it's fine for what it does. You run medium graphics settings on under 1080p, and like it can do that. But again, Nintendo Switch, whether it's Switch or Switch 2, will it'll be a generation behind all the major consoles immediately, and that's okay because their market isn't best graphics. Oh my gosh, their market is gameplay for people. Well, most of their market is rehashing classic titles, but
they do a really good job of that.
They do a really good job of it. This is not a knock. I wish, we just went over this, I wish EA would do a better job of rehashing my classic Star Wars titles. But they will not, right? So there's,
Well, someone who's not EA could. EA doesn't own the license.
Oh, to Star Wars anymore? They did for a long time.
No, this game is Ubisoft. But they did for a short while until they really messed Battlefront up.
Yeah.
And now Star Wars has Lucasfilm Games, and they go out and look for the companies and the development teams who they think would best suit.
Okay. Just bring back LucasArts. I don't care if everybody who worked there is 70 now. Just bring it back.
Yeah, I played The Dig too.
Would you play Full Throttle? Because I would.
You can play it on Xbox.
Secret of Monkey Island.
They just released a new one. Did you play it?
No.
Then there you go.
I didn't know.
There's your answer.
My source of news didn't tell me.
Yeah, they released a new one, I think, last year.
Oh.
I think it might have been good. Like The Revenge of Guybrush Threepwood.
Return to Monkey Island.
Is that not the second one?
2022?
Oh, okay. That did come out a couple years ago. Yeah. I don't think it did very well.
No, probably not.
I don't know how the reviews were, though.
I feel like the other side of our conversation earlier about your imagination filling in the gaps, I feel like if you bring something new out, you have to find the right balance of filling in the gaps for people and not.
Yeah.
Like I could imagine that if I turned on a Monkey Island, a modern Monkey Island, I haven't tried this one, so I'm not talking smack about it, but I can imagine if I turned it on and it did not have a sufficiently either somewhere between Sound Blaster and Roland MTU 401 song, like audio profile, like of that classic intro song, which is one of the most classic video game songs of all time. I would feel like they messed it up just from the intro music. I could be like, oh, they messed up. If it sounded like they had a MIDI output in 1989, I would be really excited about it, right?
Yeah, I bet they don't. I don't know.
And now I'm going to have to get this game just to try.
We will never know. There's no way to know.
We might know.
Okay. There's also a PlayStation announcement this week, and that was for the PlayStation Anniversary Collection. And it is PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro that look like the color scheme of a PlayStation. One is gray. It actually looks really good.
Interesting. Did you put a link in for that?
Okay.
Okay.
You can probably Google it. But
What's it called again?
PlayStation Anniversary Collection. And you've also got the Portal has one, and then a controller, and it looks really good, and it makes me think, man, do I need that? And then the answer, of course, is no, I don't. And in the PlayStation 5 Pro Collector's Edition, they're only making not very many of them.
I gotta be honest with you. I would buy that. That looks cool. I like retro things. That looks cool.
It does look cool. It looks way better than the...
Like, why do they make it look like they... Why do they make everything black and fingerprinty? Like, or white fins on the sides or whatever.
I don't like the look of the PlayStation 5 at all.
No,
but
this looks
good.
Uh-huh. I like that.
Yeah, it looks good. But they're only making... Can you look at how many they're making? It's ridiculous.
Price may exceed $1,000. My excitement went down. Only $12,300. And it's going to be $1,000.
And 12,000 of those are going to be picked up by scalpers.
Sure. Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah. It's still... It's so funny. But I don't know if that one comes with a vertical stand or you have to buy the stand separate. But it looks really good.
Oh, it looks amazing.
It really does look good. She talks about it. 6 minutes.
Show me the console, Kristen. There we go.
So they should have just made the PlayStation 5 Pro look like that.
They should. What are they thinking? And then, here's the thing. I get it. Re-engineering the whole thing is a lot harder than putting a skin on it. But I would love it if they made a square bricky one with a top loader. Flip open the top loading Blu-ray. Anyway.
That would be pretty neat. But I think it looks really good. And it looks good enough. I don't know why it looks so good. The box looks so good.
Yeah. I really like
it. They did it.
So
I might have to get a controller. I would almost even go with the...
So what's this box? Do you get a big box that has all the boxes in it?
No, that's the Pro. But I don't know why that doesn't look like the other one.
It's his 30th anniversary.
Yeah, but that's the Pro. You can tell because of the dingleberries on it.
But this is the limited edition, PlayStation 5 digital edition.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well they should make them all look like this. Sony, what are you doing? Make them all look like that.
I know. I don't get it. Like, it looks so much better. I don't know why. Just that color scheme changed.
Why did people break things that aren't broken or fix things that aren't broken? Anyway.
So all right. I would buy it if I needed to, but I don't, so I won't. And I also wouldn't be able to get one.
I don't need it either, so.
No, you don't. It kind of reminds me of the PlayStation 3 Metal Gear Solid edition, which was the one I really wanted to get, but I never did. But that's the one I wanted. It looked pretty cool. I don't know if it's even possible to get it anymore.
I mean...
But it costs a lot of money. So, the other thing that we can... just a pretty quick topic is I don't know if this is an announcement really, but they confirmed that the Jedi games, Jedi Survivor, Jedi I want to say Outcast, but that's not right. What was the first one?
Survivor?
Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order.
Fallen Order, Jedi.
Outcast is Dark Forces.
Outcast is definitely Dark Forces.
So
Survivor, and there was Fallen Order.
So they announced that the third one is going to be the last one. It's a trilogy. They're not going to keep going. I don't know if that was a real announcement or not, but they kind of confirmed this is a trilogy and this is the end of Cal Kestis' story.
I was convinced we were going to get Cal Kestis in one of those shows, and we still might.
Which one was it that I really thought that he was going to show up?
It was the one that had the Rebels tie-in.
Yeah.
Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Ahsoka? Ahsoka?
I cannot believe that he hasn't shown up on some show in live action, seen as though he is an actor.
Right, you would think, but hey.
They got to put him somewhere.
It's true.
I don't know where.
He's going to be in...
So Jedi takes place... The Jedi trilogy takes place after Jedi.
Jedi takes place after Jedi. That's true.
It's Return of
if you recall, there are parts in the game where they're dismantling Star Destroyers because the New Republic is...
No.
Oh, that's Ashoka the show, maybe? I get every... Star Wars Overload, I'm confused by all of
No,
that.
it's after... The Empire is still a thing.
Oh, you're 100% right, because it's after... it's after the Clone Wars, but before New Hope.
Yeah.
Is Fallen Order.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 years of the events of Episode 3. After Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith is Jedi Fallen Order, and Survivor is later than that. But
It's hard to keep track.
5 years after Fallen Order, so 9 BBY. So we're talking 6 years before.
Yeah. Before the Battle of Yavin.
Well, 9 years BBY, so 9 years before the Battle of Yavin. I don't know why I said 6 years, but it's okay.
I'm going to have to go back and really get my timeline straight.
According to Google, Jedi Survivor is the same year as the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and around the same time as Andor.
That's when I think it was the Obi-Wan. No, wait.
Andor could have been.
But I don't know.
The Cal Kestis just feels like he could show up in any of those properties. You know?
I think it was... There was one... Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We're rambling now.
Well, okay.
Next.
In that instance, I think we're going to go ahead and call it.
Are we... We're calling
I think so.
That's good.
The only other thing I would like to say that I'm excited about, real quick, Netflix show, Splinter Cell. They're also doing Devil May Cry, but Splinter Cell, I was like, okay, cool. And then I saw who's doing the voice of Sam Fisher, Liev Schreiber, which I think is a phenomenal choice for Sam Fisher.
Yeah.
Michael Ironside was the original voice of Sam Fisher, and he's got just like such a voice. But Liev Schreiber, like hearing him in the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, man, that sounds good.
Nice.
So, all right, I just wanted to put that in there. But anyways, so that was Jedi Outlaws and a couple other things. Go play the game for 20 more hours, Josh.
I'll get right on that.
And then maybe next week we'll talk about something else.
Cool.
Do you want to? Can I make you play a game you don't want to play for 20 hours?
You sure can.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Peace out.